things that struck me is this idea that you were kind of like a reluctant entrepreneur. You said yourself, I didn't want to be in business, I didn't know how to be in business. How do you go from not wanting to be in business to giving this business a piece of your soul?
Oh, it's a great question, and I think I'm still trying to figure that out now. There's so many things about, well, I don't need to get too philosophical about capitalism, but I think what has worked is that I can easily think and work outside of the box because I don't know what the box is, having never gone to business school, right? So I can kind of make up my own rules in that regard, which things like, they say, like I mentioned in the video about, it's business, it's not personal, but I really believe that when you get to know the people you work with and your customers, your employees, your vendors, your community, we do treat people better, and then building those personal relationships, we take care of each other better, and I think that's a really important value in the business that's been helpful.
You talked about that authenticity and the integrity, that being one of your milestones or your keystone that you want to be sure that you always do in your business. How has that been difficult for you throughout the years?
No, because I think I trust my gut in a lot of ways, probably more than I should sometimes, but it comes down to treating people well, and I think that's pretty fundamental. And being authentic, like with a product, it has to be there has to be genuine, authentic values coming from the designer, who is me, even though I didn't know what I was doing, but you have to understand the actual core user and why you're creating it and how and the functionality. We're not doing it for fashion or to make butts look good, even though they do. That's a result of it, which is great also, but they have to be functional, and customers will sniff out a fake like crazy. So I think it's what I do naturally, but it's with any sort of product or service, you have to have a real heart behind it and some truth behind it.
There was this real feeling of, when I heard your story about it, meant to be. Kind of gave me goosebumps when you said you were sitting in that coffee shop reading the book, and then the gentleman from Patagonia just happened to be like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah. And you're like, I'm gonna make pants. I mean, it's almost like this was where you're like, this is supposed to be what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Those kind of circumstances you can't deny that you're heading somewhat in the right general direction when those things fall in your lap. And I think the more we pause and listen to, there's so many signs and people and circumstances like that crossing our paths if we just pay attention to them. Yep.
Another thing that you said that was just so beautiful to me is how you plan to be in business and why it's so important for you to know your customers, know your distributors, know the women that you say sew your pants. How have you kept that going the larger and larger that you get?
Yeah, great question, and it's tough. And when I started the festival, we had no idea it was going to get that big that quickly, and it honestly, I was over my head for a year just trying to come up for air and try to make sure the pants company wasn't totally neglected for the last 6 years, which I can't deny that it hasn't been. But it's the classic curse of an entrepreneur. You just want to start a new project every month, and which isn't always a good strategy, it turns out. So as we get bigger, I think what we really do to keep that intention is to build the culture within our team as we expand, and then it just ripples out with everyone we work with, especially our core team and our employees and contractors that are kind of the inner circle, and then everyone kind of buys into it and works in that direction.
From the having people that live above you that have guns that shot themselves in the leg to now, how many people going through that journey? How many people do you now employ?
So I do have to mention that when I the first year I would sit in my office and I would open my inbox and be like, oh, please, somebody email me today. And I need to go back to those days. And I would have a Monday morning meeting, and I would make a staff meeting, and it would be my dog and my cat and myself, like, all right, guys, what are we gonna do this week? But now we have, so it's a complicated answer. So for the pants company, myself as CEO, then we have a full-time store manager who handles all the distribution, probably 6 part-time storekeepers, and then 2 really close colleagues that are independent contractors that help with all the social media and marketing and communications and back end of the website and inventory management, that sort of stuff. And another gal helps on product and design management now and accounting. And on the festival side, there's 3 of us year round. I book all the music, which is a whole other industry to learn, but not it's doable, this relationship totally. And then we have a couple more for 6 months, and then some more summer staff, and then 85 event staff and 220 volunteers. And then on the foundation, there's 2 of us and a board of directors.
Is it too forward to ask about your sales, your yearly sales?
I don't, so we've gone down the last year. We're still micro, we're around like 300,000. It's not a huge,
We've got a large audience in here, and I think they're all willing.
Oh yeah, and we do have a discount for you today.
So it sounds like you're gonna be moving away from being in the saddle shop full-time to kind of running more of this foundation. How do you see that going forward in the future?
Oh, it's a great question. It's funny, in that video, I don't know if you remember that sweet old couple on a porch swing on a beautiful Victorian mansion. So this, again, contradicting myself, I'm trying to start a new project right now and purchase that mansion and make it a social club and boarding house for the community and a music venue and a place to do our wood shop skills and writing workshops and an artist residency and all the good things, just a place for the community to gather, which I think is so vital for our towns. And I know in urban areas there's a little bit more of an opportunity, but especially rural areas, there's often maybe a library, community room, maybe a senior center, but not a place to really come and connect outside of a bar. So that's and a place to host kind of almost a rural institute, but with a foundation to give us kind of a place to be and have conversations and the skills workshops and the girls leadership program there. And I do think the girls leadership that's a really big key piece that we're developing now that has a lot of room to scale.
So it sounds like your heart is really in the rural community and building up rural communities. We have in Utah and our rural communities is that our young people are moving out. They move out to get educated, and then they find that they can't get a job to come back home, and so they don't come back home. How has things changed in White Sulphur Springs? Are you bringing more of the young people back because it sounds so cool?
Yeah, right. It's funny. I think that classic brain drain is happening all over the country, and luckily in our community there's a lot of really traditional and strong ranching families where the kids are already moving back, without any influence of Sarah Calhoun by any means. But what we are seeing, I think, on a national trend is that yes, the young people want to come back for jobs and you need good education and schools for your family, all that sort of stuff. But the number one thing that attracts young people to rural places is arts and culture. There's got to be something going on to do that's fun, and that's where music comes into play in such a big way. It doesn't have to be a grand festival by any means. This is actually a very risky, bad fundraiser. I don't recommend throwing a music festival to make some fun at all. It's working tremendously well for us, but that's very unusual. But there are so many bands out there and singer-songwriters and people that want to get heard that you can have house concerts, you can do anything, but those sorts of things, bringing in and having, again, a place for people to gather, I think that's really key. I was recently here a couple weeks ago and Lieutenant Governor Cox spoke, who also, he lives in, is it Fairview? And he was saying that in his community, the first thing always to get built was the church, and then the second thing was a community dance hall. And they even had town players, and just having that core place is so central to, yes, we need to work hard, yes, we need good jobs and healthcare, but we also need to enjoy our lives and our communities and our neighbors and our families with everything we've worked so hard for. So I think that's a big piece. Also, with rural communities, I just have to say, and small towns and small business, there is so much potential. The quality of living is high, the cost of living is low, and there's often historic buildings for incredibly low prices. We have higher speed internet in White Sulphur than we do in Billings or Bozeman, Montana. You've got the Postal Service and UPS and FedEx and usually a good workforce. And I think just making it cool again and try to attract those graduates and let the kids go off to college and get some outside perspective experience and then give them something to come back for.
Certainly successful. Yes, please applaud. $100,000 is nothing to sneeze at, so congratulations there. One last question. So I don't know where to go. I don't want to go with something that maybe one thing you do differently. Let's talk about the best piece of advice you've ever been given.
Oh, learn how to say no. That's a good one. And also ask for help. I'm assuming many of you here own your own small businesses, and you know that it's not something you just check out at 5 o'clock ever. If we're out the door by 7 or 8, we're in good shape. But even if you do leave at 5, you're awake from 2 to 6 in the morning. You're thinking about the things you need to get done. Or we never are allowed to leave that. And I think being able to ask for help when we need it is huge. And with that, taking care of ourselves, because it, yeah, we can't get much done if we're not in good shape ourselves, so.